JRwalker and the All-Stars. What's happening, people? Your man Brandon in the building tonight. And tonight we going classic. We going, well, you know how we always get down on Brandon After Dark, but also we got a little twist, a little something going on for you for the rest of the night. Once again, I hope everybody's busy work day or work weekend is officially over. You can relax, chill, kick back, do what you're supposed to do, and just listen to some nice interviews, some nice music, and then some. So lock your seatbelts in. Let's get it on tonight. And like I said, the sounds of JRwalker and the All-Stars is definitely a big deal. And when I say it's a big deal, it's, you know, a lot of different sounds that come out of Motown throughout the years. And, you know, a lot of people definitely need to pay attention to JRwalker and his contributions to music. But not only that, we got some legacies to talk about. We got some books that's out, or, you know, we gotta discuss it somewhat. So, you know, we're gonna have Mr. Derek Dewalt in as well, I'm sure. But also I got the man in the house tonight. He goes by the name of Mr. Kumbone Abiani, and he is here to discuss the book. Obi, what's good, man?
All right, everything is everything. What's up with you, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in, and I'm gonna get right to it. The book that talks about the life of JRwalker and his talks about his music, his life, and everything through his son's eyes. Like, give us the 411 as far as how it all came to be, as far as how it was put together between you and his son. Because you're the author. Let me make sure I make it right. As far as you're the guy that put it together, right?
Right. I'm the author. I talked to Derek earlier, and I haven't been able to find him since. So I'm sorry that he's not here. Maybe he'll give me a call.
That's okay. You know how we do. It's live radio. We can continue on until he gets here, and then we gonna pick up speed. So that's how we go.
Okay. Well, what happened was that Derek had been trying to get it together and get something done about his dad's for a while because his dad died in '95, and
right.
There had been various court proceedings and what have you, and he wanted to get the story out, and he bumped into my brother, who's an actor, and then my brother suggested myself, and I'm a writer, and we clicked from day one because I'm a saxophonist. I play saxophone, and I play alto, and I can't play tenor. And he started telling me what he had in mind, and I said, okay, let's go for it. And I started doing interviews with him, he and his mom, and the remaining musicians who played in this band. And it took on a life of its own and rolled from there.
When it comes to the book, and I, you know, hearing press releases or you know, clips or, you know, just some bio or information about it. To me, I think it's kind of interesting just for the simple fact that, you know, JRwalker and the All-Stars, of course, you know, a lot of people know their sounds and their music. And it has a footprint in Motown's legacy. Why did it take so long for it to actually come together?
You mean the book?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that it takes a while for young people, for people to grieve, and
right.
There are 11 of them, as it says in the book. Derek has 5 brothers and sisters before him and 5 after him, and he's in the middle. Mm-hmm. And so, therefore, it took a while for them to decide who was going to do the book, and then everybody had different ideas, and then Derek took it upon himself. Also, there's been a lot of court proceedings, and they just won with EMI just this year, going from 1995 to now. Just imagine. They've been fighting that long. And it took that long for them to decide who was going to do it, and once Derek took it on and decided he was going to do it, and it was only one person working with it, and he found the author and someone to write it, it got together. But I think it takes a while when you're going through court, and even now there are people who are impersonating the Junior Walker and the All-Stars band who are not the band, even now. So it took a while because there was circumstances.
Is there a legal binding to that name? Because I've heard so many people, man, throughout my young career, and like I said, I wasn't around when Junior Walker and the All Stars was really getting it in back in the '60s. I'm hearing names. I'm hearing their names throughout the states and things like that. I mean, is there any any lockdown from the family to be able to say, hey, you can't use that name. That's copyright infringing upon,
That's
the legacy.
You hit right on the problem. They have put cease and desist orders, and they've stopped just about all the bands, I think, except for one.
Mm-hmm.
But what some of the bands have done is that they won't play in the States, but they will go to Europe and play. And,
You're kidding me.
Yes, and interesting enough, Junior Walker is more popular there. They're still listening to him there more so than here. Interesting enough. You go to Europe, man, it's very interesting. You hit England, France, Germany, Holland, you hit the south of Spain, you hit Ireland and Wales, and all of these saxophonists want to sound like Junior Walker. And they all copy his style and copy his licks. So therefore, when these perpetrators, these imposters, they get a band together and they go to Europe and they go up under the name of Junior Walker and All-Stars, and people turn out. When Derek, and he has the Junior Walker and All-Star band now, which is one of the original bass players who was there, a guy named Hackaway, who took over after the other guys left. Hackaway and them are playing. He said they couldn't get off the bus. They were mobbed so much. And when they heard that it's Junior Walker's actual son, he said they went crazy in Europe. And his son, Autry, was playing on drums. He has another brother named Lloyd who plays the saxophone and sings like his dad. It's just that the band is not able to work enough because of these imposters that can't get gigs enough to keep it together. So it's a shame, but they keep fighting them and fighting them and fighting them. But you know how worms are; they'll find a way to get in anything.
That is too true, and I have yet to get the book, but it's available if you go to your website, right?
Yes, www.jazzmaya.com, and you can order the book. It's www.jazzmaya.com, and you can order the book there. And it's pictures.
And as the station goes, while we're doing the interview, I'm literally multitasking and going on your website to make that purchase. One question that I do have is,
you don't have to purchase a book. I send you one.
well, I appreciate that. You can send me an autograph one, but I'm still gonna buy one though. That's just how I got to show that support, man. Because I mean, not only that, it's music history. When I say music history, it's like I think about Junior Walker and the All Stars. I think about so much history that used to be I used to hear it all the time in my parents' house. My grandparents. I hear so much of it. As a lover of music, you tend to gravitate and appreciate exactly what it is. And one question that I had, because you brought up the Motown Records lawsuit, and I know you can't really probably talk about a whole lot, but just based on your opinion as far as that battle that was won via the lawsuit with Motown Records, was that win just a matter of Motown has changed so much throughout the years? Is it because there was really no communication or a lack of support on their end to be able to kind of take care of the estate of the Junior Walker family?
Well, the Junior Walker family is outside of Motown. The estate is strictly for the Junior Walker family, and Motown is Motown. What happened between for Junior and Motown was something that happened only for Junior and not for the other artists.
I see.
So what Junior did is basically it's a breach of conflict and conflict of interest for a company to also be the managers for a company, for an artist. And he won that, but the other artists at Motown, I don't think, I'm almost sure that didn't happen. But Barry Gordy, from our reports, he respected Junior a lot. And as public record companies are interesting. If their philosophy, for the most part, is that if you are lacking in knowledge and you don't have information and you don't contest the contracts and have a lawyer who can look at clauses, that is not their fault. It is your fault. And if you present yourself in a way in which you can call into question certain articles in a contract and make sure that the contract is working to your favor, if you don't have that, then it's not the record company's fault. It's your fault. So, it's like something MC Hammer said. MC Hammer said, I remember when they asked him what advice he would give to young artists coming up, he said, get yourself a good lawyer and a good accountant and somebody to watch both of them.
There you go. I remember that. That is true. That is true. Because he's a living proof of it. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
There you go. So Junior got him a good lawyer, and he took something from what Louis Armstrong had said back in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Louis Armstrong told another artist who was coming up, another trumpet player, can't remember his name, he said, what you do is that you get yourself a good Jewish lawyer, because he's going to know the law, he's going to work for you, and you play your horn, and you get yourself a good lawyer, and then, you have somebody watch them, but you get yourself a good lawyer, and you go in there and you in the business, and you do it. But you need to get yourself a lawyer, and so that when you walk into the record company, you have a lawyer, not afterwards.
I'm kind of curious about the book, and people can actually go ahead and go to jazzmaya.com, JASMAYA, and make that purchase now. All you listeners that's listening. One thing that I'm curious was it when you start working with the family to put the book together, was it easy to be able to get any sound bites, so to speak, or information from the Motown machine during the time you started putting it together?
I didn't get anything from the Motown machine.
Okay. What was it? Was it voluntarily, like you asked and they declined, or was it just?
Well, let me say this: Motown has its own way of doing things, and you just have to work with the way they have of doing things. Miss Martha Reeves and the Vandellas was very open, and she spoke. But let's say that other than that, it was a bit
ironclad, huh?
Yes. Well, every businesses are like that, and you're in the entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
Businesses are like that, and they cover their back very carefully.
They cover their backs, and their backs are covered by somebody else's backs, and so on and so forth. I definitely know where you're coming from.
CYA.
Yeah. Your opinion, and I know his son's not on, but just your opinion in dealing with the family. Do you know by any chance if during the time that JRwalker and the Allstars was really dealing with Motown, overall, was there a sense of happiness as far as being a part of that machine back in the day?
Yes, Junior was happy in one way, and on the other hand, they said that he felt like an outsider. Motown was the sound of young America, and it cultivated a very slick image. And Junior was a country boy, and he didn't grow up in Detroit. He grew up in Arkansas, and then he went to Wisconsin, and then he went to Chicago, and then he settled in a small town in Michigan, in Battle Creek, Michigan. And so he always felt like he was on the outside of that whole Motown image. He didn't really fit in. However, and he traveled in his own bus. It was the Motown bus, but Junior traveled in his own bus, and he was the mechanic for his own bus. So he always felt as if he was on the outside, on the periphery. Though he was part of it, and he was on the tour, he still, he was the kind of guy, I remember one time a person told me that they were in a little place called Bobo's Brazil in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And Junior was in there eating, and he took his teeth out and put them on the side and ate his greens with his fingers.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Now Motown is knives and forks and, that whole image that they presented.
Right.
So therefore, there was a difference there. However, his music, in terms of R&B, is as sophisticated as you can get. Just from what you were playing as the show came on, I was listening to that, and I was thinking, listen to Junior riff over those horns and everything. Yeah, and he couldn't read a lick of music.
Wow.
And he's riffing through over there, and I counted this like the chords are coming, and he has no problems moving right through the chords and playing through the chorus and harmonizing with the voices. When the voices would come in, he would change and adjust to it and play a harmony and then go back to the melody. Now, only trained musicians, theoretically, those who've been to school, are supposed to be able to do that. But he did it just through his ear and knowing his horn.
I mean, and you said it right on point when he can't read a lick of music, but he can play it like he's read it, memorized it and did it all his life. And that, and that's a testament to, like I said, man, talent of music and passion of music goes a long way, because if you're really passionate about what you want to do, and of course, obviously Junior wanted to do this, I mean, it shows by his music and what's been put down. Because, I mean, like you said, I mean, the Walk in the Night, the track we just played, before the show kicked off, man, I love that song because of what you just said about you can hear certain riffs, certain things that, he blew that thing with passion. You could tell.
And dig this, Brandon. It was only in 2 takes.
Really?
He listened to it one time. Yes, he said, play it through, because everything, the rhythm track and the voices and everything had been laid down. He listened to it the first time, said he was fingering the horn, yes, and then the next time when we went through, he said, okay, start it. And he was blowing.
That's amazing.
And he blowed, and when it was finished, and he said, that's a take, now let's go on to the next thing.
That is amazing. Not too many people probably know that or don't know that or whatever, as far as just, his contributions to music is just that good. And nowadays you can basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you might co-sign on this, but when you have bands and groups and things like that, they don't do all that stuff like they used to with the trombones and the horns and the whole deal like that. They don't do it.
No, it's mostly with the machines. The tragedy is that what has happened to African American music in all the genres is that there are not a lot of young musicians who are coming out who can actually play.
Right.
Unfortunately, something has happened. Some would attribute it to back in the 1980s when Reagan dissolved all of the instrumental programs into the junior high schools and high schools. He took that away unless they were privately funded, which has to do with class and economics. If the boosters, who are the parents, if they don't give the money to buy the instruments, and you're in an area where it's lower income, where a lot of talent comes out of, and the parents can't buy the instruments, then the people from those kinds of working class to poor to lower middle class neighborhoods, and then they can't get instruments, and therefore they don't have a band. So in return, our young musicians aren't coming out. We have some singers, but where are the musicians?
Right.
Where are the bassists? Where are the drummers? What's the brother from who always has the fork in his hair? I think he's from Roots. Questlove, is that his name?
Right. Questlove, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the drummer. The reason why I dig him so much is that, he can actually play.
Right.
And he can play. But there aren't, what band can you tell me of, and you can always correct me, young band can you tell me of where there are young brothers who are the same age as the musicians who are on the stage playing together?
Not many, or not any at all. It's few and far between when it comes to just being able to just. I mean, you could easily especially nowadays, you can easily mask a track with a lot of bunch of flaws and just, add a bunch of dubs or, and things like that. But you can't do that with bands. Like, if you got an awful, drummer, and I'm not saying that to any of the drummers that's out there trying. I mean, if you're bad, you got to really study, you got to really practice, and you got to really put a lot of hard work into it. And one thing that I want to ask you, and this is Branded After Dark, we have author Kumbone Obayani. Obayani. Got to make sure I get it right. He's the man behind the JRwalker story, the man behind the sax, which is available on website. Go to jazzmaya.com, JASMAYA. Have the music is just music and bands for that matter. Have we just all gotten lazy in 2012?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's that there are not a lot of opportunities now and a lot of programs which are fostering and encouraging young musicians to play. It's not out there, So therefore, being the ingenious culture which we are, the young people, they use their voice. They rap, and some of them sing and play some of the instruments because they don't have access to the instruments. So therefore, as always for African Americans who survive in this culture, we find other ways to create. We will not be held down. So I think it's just that there is not opportunity for them to pick up an instrument for young people to have access to instruments, and that is part of what has happened.
Who should we blame? Because I'm good at trying to throw fingers and pointing at folks and try to figure out who's to blame and what we need to do to be able to get this back on deck. Because you're right. I mean, let's talk about the school systems. They don't have those classic music classes like they used to back in the day. I'm talking about elementary, junior high school, even high school for that matter. We don't, because I used to never, I kid you not, I never liked playing the flute, but we had classes in junior high where you had no choice. You had to do it. You had to do it.
And
now,
those programs have primarily disappeared now.
Yeah, I agree. I
don't know if it's something to blame. Brandon, man, we have the resources to take care of our own. It's just a question of whether or not we do. If you got a poor kid and you have a working class neighborhood, a poor neighborhood, it is easier to put bread on the table than it is to, give money to the school.
Right.
The school is the school, and so therefore, the parents they are not economically stable enough to be able to contribute to a music program or to buy computers the way they would from a more affluent neighborhood. And those of us who have means will contribute to the neighborhood in which our children go to, or their children go to, as opposed to looking back and dealing with those who haven't. So, it's a question of doing for ourselves or waiting for someone else to do it. And if we wait for somebody else to do it, like the government, they're not going to do it. So therefore, of us taking care of ourselves.
You're going to be waiting a long time if you're waiting for somebody to be able to make moves for you. That is on point and true. And one question I have, and people definitely need to go check out the JRwalker story, the man behind the sax. When it comes to JRwalker, was there ever points in his music career where he was just not happy, be it if it was after Motown or whatever?
I think that in the early days, when he was doing construction and playing at night and doing little gigs, he was unhappy at that period. And then when he would always, with the support of Mrs. Walker, when she gave him the go-ahead, and he said he just wanted to live and just wanted to play music, and she said, you take that dream and go out there after it. He became happy. And then, let me think back, there's another period, whereas when the gigs weren't coming the way they were. He had left Motown, he wasn't with Motown, and he had signed with another label, and they weren't behind him, and there was a lull there. and he wasn't getting a lot of gigs. However, being the genius that he was, he said, okay, I'm going on the Chitlin Circuit. The Chitlin Circuit was these little small clubs which existed all across the United States, the American Legion Post, all of them. And he started playing those in county fairs. And it built back up. And he said, okay, since nobody's promoting my concerts and not my records and what have you, I'll go to Europe. And so he figured it out. But there was a lull, there was a period there where it just was not happening. That was after Motown.
Wow. And, you know, I guess you can kind of look at it from a lot of different reasons or different points as far as, you know, support. Because to me, I always feel like this. Everybody, especially when you do music and you being a part of a machine like Motown, and not only that, I mean, to me, I think anybody that has bigger-than-life music, of course, you know, Motown was a machine, but you got to look at the art form that was created by certain people, and in this case, you know, JRwalker and the All-Stars. My whole take on it when it comes to just this elevation of music, it just seems like, and it could have started back then, because it definitely feels like that now, that we don't support our music heroes like we should. And a lot of people tend to wait till they die in order to show their support. And you know, it to me, I think that appreciation should become in abundance. Like, you know, when you do have a certain person, like, you know, let's just say JRwalker, if he was still living, you know, and if you know, finding gigs or doing something like that, you know, again, I look at music as a fraternity. Your fraternity is supposed to look at it. Wow, you know, we need to reach out to this guy. And you know, help put him, you know, re-emerge him into the music life, especially how it is nowadays. So that's my whole take on it. But it surprises me to be able to, you know, hear that, you know, a lot of people kind of went away from his music and what he was doing beforehand. Because I've heard about the Chitlin circuits, and you know, I had these visions of it, you know, them performing in, like, you know, small little hole in the wall spots or whatever, but the appreciation was there for the people that enjoy music.
Yes, you know, it's interesting. You're right on, man, and you know, big respect to you for your perspective. If there are the whole AU Center of Moses Brown, Atlanta U, Emory, Clark College, then you go down to Fisk, Tuskegee, all those schools. If those schools alone brought in black artists, brought in artists who were making the music, those from the past, not only contemporary, those artists would be able to survive.
Absolutely.
There are student unions all across the United States at colleges, at universities, who could bring in those artists. They could push for them to have a residency, you know, for a short period of time. When I was in undergraduate school, I went to Brown. Up at Amherst College, which was right up the road, in jazz alone, they had a saxophonist named Archie Shepp. They had the major drummer from the bebop era called Max Roach. They brought in Sonny Stitt. They brought in B.B. King. They brought in all these and gave them residencies, and they were teaching there, which kept those musicians from living hand to mouth. For some reason, that has gone away. It's unfortunate that at Howard University, the students had to strike to get a jazz department there because the school did not want a jazz department there. They wanted it to be classical music, and it has to do with the idea of again, what you said is us not appreciating our own music, and if we did, it would make the situation very different. But it's possible if we got behind our artists. You know, this whole generation from the bebop era is almost dead now, except for Sonny Rollins is still alive. Yes, B.B. King is still alive, but he's on his last legs. You know, these are all senior gentlemen in their 80s. If the schools get behind them, you know, they could have different lives, and they could pass the tradition on. Chuck Berry's still alive. Little Richard's still alive. You know, and the tradition could be passed on if we got behind it.
Why do you feel it? I mean, well, you know, my whole take on it is kind of like we didn't already talked about it, but it's just a shame, man, that, you know, here we are and we have so many talented artists that still living, and not only that, I mean, you know, we have talented artists that passed away, like Junior, and others, and it seemed like the nation would just hold a candlelight vigil for a couple days, and then they just go back and ignore what was actually meant when it comes to music, because music it's a livelihood for so many artists and so many fans of the artists, and it's just being the feeling I get, and I love music to death, not just the music where I came up from, but also the classic music, from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and so on. It's just people just don't look at it and pay attention to it like they do and like they used to.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. One of the reasons is that I really think that the young people in many instances are not exposed to it and are not aware of the histories and aware of the tradition. And Oba,
even though they have internet access, they got YouTube access, they got they can be able to get a semblance of some history, but it's nothing better than I used to talk to my grandma before she passed away, and she used to always talk about just seeing B.B. King live and seeing and JRwalker. Like, I used to hear like stories like that, and it usually captured my attention because that's music, that's history.
Yeah, and it's there. There are these tours now of the bands, and they're still kicking. It's interesting when you go there. Most of the population of those are either, I'm 60, are people who are my age, and then young Latinos who are sucking it up out here on the West Coast, and they're there. It's a question of exposure. KJLH plays out here in California. JLH plays oldies, and people get to hear them. It's just exposure. You can click on YouTube, but nothing is like being able, as we used to say, nothing like being able to see them sweat.
Oh, you got that right. You got that right.
When they start getting down, and Junior would take out his top teeth and would play the horn without the teeth in the top, and that's how he got that sound. And the same thing with John Coltrane. He took out his teeth in the top and played, and that's how he got that sound. The same thing with Illinois Jacquet, all those guys. They took out their top teeth, and they gave him that tone that when you hear it, as soon as it comes out, you can hear and know that that's Junior Walker, that's John Coltrane, that's Illinois Jacquet, that's B.B. King and all that. If people aren't exposed to it, and so that they can see them sweat, then they don't hear it. But how many promoters out there are going to give them an opportunity? They can still live in Europe.
That's true.
This is the contradiction, though, Brandon, man. In Europe, they can gig. They can stay there all the time.
Right.
And keep playing. And in Japan, and in the Philippines, and in Korea, they can gig over there. But they couldn't survive if they stayed here. So,
it's funny over that you talk about John Coltrane and Junior taking out their teeth to be able to get a certain signature sound, because not only did I hear the same story, I used to hear people saying, you know what, if it wasn't for their teeth missing, they probably wouldn't be able to put them sounds the way they put together. You know what I mean?
That's real. That's real, because you got your gums on top of the mic, on top of the mouthpiece.
Right.
When the mouthpiece, if you get blowing, the mouthpiece gets warm in your mouth. Difference when you feel it on your gums and if you feel it on your teeth.
Man, I used to hear that so much over the years, man. I love it, and people definitely need to go make sure you check out the website to go get the book, The Junior Walker Story, The Man Behind the Sax, released by Jazzmaya Productions. Go to www.jazzmaya.com. Make sure you go ahead and get that. And before we wrap it up, man, I gotta ask you, when it comes to this book, what is a fan of music gonna walk away from once they're done reading it from cover to cover?
They'll walk away with the evolution of a musician, and they'll see the evolution of the music, but also how personal demons and issues that some individuals have it affects them and affects their family and affects the music. Junior was a very complex individual, very complex, like most artists. You'll find out in the book that on one hand he was a loving father, and on the other hand he was very different towards his wife. You know, the woman who shared his life and who was the mother of his children. That he was very loving and very giving with the band, but then at times very distant from family because he was in the world of the music. And, you know, the music has a life of its own, and many times the contradiction is that those who have been blessed with that gift are not very personable.
Right.
You know, they give to the world everything, and when they come back home, there's less to give to family. And but you will see from his early beginnings when he got the horn, when he was like 8, 9 years old, all the way to the beginning to the end of his life, that he followed that dream, that he followed that music, that he followed that gift that had been given to him, you know, by God and by the Creator and by the universe and all that. He followed it and developed it. You know, he was told to go out in the woods and play to develop his tone. He was told to practice for hours. He was told to do all that. And he did it and got to the point to where he could do anything he wanted to on that horn. So that, you know, talent will only take you so far in life if you have no technique behind it. And he took talent and developed it into something else and until mastered it. And that's what you're going to get from the book. You see the tragedy, you see the beauty, you see the pain, and you'll see the ugliness that went right along with it.
Amazing, amazing. I can't wait to dive deep into the book and get it going. And I appreciate you taking time to hang out with me and talk about this legacy that this man has given us in music. And don't be a stranger to the show, man. Come back and hang out with me and talk music anytime you want, brother.
I'll do that, man. And young man, I take my hat off to you, and big props and big love and everything. I really dig what you're doing. Keep it on. Keep on keeping on, as we would say.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That is Mr. Ova. He is the guy that is in charge. Go to www.jazzmaya.productions, actually Jazzmaya, JASMAYA.com. Get the story, the JRwalker story, the man behind the sax. More music all the time right here, Branded After Dark.